Hi everyone, how are you today? So my name's Christian, and I'm kind of restarting this project, this channel again after some time away. A lot of time away, actually, because a lot of things have changed for my life. So, as some of you may know, I grew up in the US, but I had an experience studying in Venice, Italy during college. And so that made me fall in love with Italy, and I tried to figure out a way to move here, to live here. And so I found out about the process for getting Italian citizenship through my family, because I'm Italian American. And so, pretty much maybe 4 years ago, that process finally went through. I was recognized an Italian citizen, and within a year, I had moved to Italy. So almost 3 years now, I've been living in Rome, Italy. Here's my beautiful apartment without air conditioning, actually, but we got a fan, so it's okay, even in summer. Um, so yeah, that's where my life is right now, but I want to go in kind of a new direction with this channel. I kind of want to enter what I see as an international kind of online dialogue about history, politics, philosophy, religion, because what we're seeing now is a new shift in the Western world. Ever since the Enlightenment and the French Revolution, really, the concept of the individual has taken precedence over the importance of the state, really. So, that was a long process, but I think we've reached we went through socialism, communism, fascism, everything, but now we're at the point where the individual is kind of the center of our identity. Like, what is it for me? What does it mean to be human? It means to have rights. Oh, well, but what are those rights? Are they from a transcendent order in which we have a responsibility to maintain kind of that order the way it has been created? Or is it about what I want in this moment? Is it what I want just according to my changing whims? And that's when I think we fall into what we have now in the world, which is a crisis in the Western world, and really all over in some ways, a crisis of meaninglessness, where, we weren't really raised with religion the way that our ancestors were, so we think, everything that exists the way it does now is just the way it always has, and we forget this transcendent order in which we do have a role to play in a more responsible way, though. And when that doesn't happen, you see what is happening in the world now, where it's about what you want in the moment. And so we have this generation of, first of all, we're so obsessed with wealth, with making money, we think that's going to bring us happiness. And as we know, Jesus spoke very often against the temptations of wealth for what it can do to your soul, to put money above everything else. But then we also have the more obvious kind of degeneracy, like people, whether it's like this OnlyFans culture or this whole concept of pride. One of the biggest sins that the Bible talks about is to be overly prideful, or even to be prideful. And that's one of the kind of ideals of modern day with this pride. It's like, this is who I am and I'm proud about it. But then they don't even really ask who they truly are, because, well, we'll get into those topics later. But pretty much, this is what I'm seeing. We are living in a Western world that is decadent. It is dying. In many ways, it was dying spiritually, but that is now manifesting physically, where literally many populations are not replacing themselves. And If you want to follow a good philosophy for life, for a civilization, it can't be what countries like Italy, where I live now, it can't be their philosophy now that is correct, because they're probably going to have half the population that they have now in about 100 years. The birth rate is, I think, less than 1.2 children per 2 people. So if you know anything about that, that means the population is going to go down. Because a lot of people like to say there's a conflict between religion and science. But what I would say to that is, well, okay, if that is the case and you follow science, then you tell me why, like from an evolutionary point of view, these philosophies like feminism and atheism that have led to the dropping of birth rates, why is that matching up in accordance with the way that science made us to be? Well, I would say it clearly doesn't work that way. So we have this decadence, meaninglessness, selfishness, individualism, but we're seeing signs of a rebirth. Spiritually, I would say, spiritually, metaphysically, like we are questioning the roots of this modern society that we have now, which we shouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like modern America, the modern West, these are the most prosperous civilizations in history, the greatest, I would say, raised up from a Christian foundation, which has taught us to be loving to one another, to work together, to sacrifice what we want right now for the greater good of society. But we've seen how we've gone away from that, but I think we're returning to that. You see the interest again in Catholicism, even Eastern Orthodoxy, really in what our civilization's roots come from. You see growth in traditional forms of faith, like the Latin Mass, Eastern Orthodoxy, for example, kind of away from Protestantism too, which was kind of like a individualistic form of Christianity. It's like the idea that, well, I'm not part of a universal church. I can interpret, well, the universal church, what does that really mean? It's not like an actual group of people who believe certain things that have been passed down. No, it's based on the Bible only. But I think we who know our history know that this is only a 500-year-old kind of idea, and that we actually have roots going back 2,000 years. So that's what I want this channel to go towards, a discussion of history, politics, philosophy, religion, and I can also talk about my own story a little bit, because hopefully to influence some other people who are trying to find their way back to order and really transcendence, kind of heaven, if we want to speak of it that way, like aiming towards, as Jordan Peterson, who I don't love everything he says, but sees as like we're climbing this hill of self-sacrifice in order to reach higher heights of realization, self-realization, which benefits society too. But then when we reach the top of the present hill, we realize, oh, there's another hill. We have to keep going up, taking our cross and sacrificing. He talks about that beautifully in his recent book, We Who Wrestle with God. I would highly recommend that. But for me, like, this is my story from, individualistic, in many ways divorced from religion, 21st century America. I'm as American as it gets. I was raised there, everything. Raised Catholic, but not super practicing, I guess we could say. But then I come to Italy to study as a student. I come to Italy now to live. And pretty much being around all this beauty, being around this civilization that is rooted in Christianity, Catholicism, but also Greece and Rome, has made me appreciate it so much more where I come from, my family personally, but really all of the West. And also to see this juxtaposition between the Italy of the past and the Italy of today, the Italy of St. Francis of Assisi, the Italy of the great popes of the past, the saints, Thomas Aquinas, everything, to the Italy of now, where most young people, I would say, are definitely not practicing. Many don't even believe. And to see where they're going. They're going towards where we went. America started this we had a good experiment at the beginning, the revolution. It was interesting. But it was a revolution based on the rights of man. Also, they did acknowledge God. That was incredibly important, and I think it's why the American Revolution was so much more successful, better, and fruitful compared to the French Revolution, which was pretty much godless, atheistic, and failed, and created kind of a new zeitgeist in Europe, which is that, everything that came before, no, we're going to create the world anew. So I think that was a mistake in retrospect. But to see Italy now, you probably think, if you're an American watching this video, Italy is this traditional country. People are Catholic, traditional gender roles maybe. And that is true compared to the ones who have gone off the deep end, like the UK and France and Germany. But still, my travels, particularly in Eastern Europe, which also has its own problems, but in the Orthodox world, have shown me, we have a lot to learn from them. They take their faith a lot more seriously. I mean, in Romania, I was walking down the street, and this young woman about my age was walking by a church, and she just did the sign of the cross, walking by it. She didn't even go in. Like, that's a whole nother way to conceive of life, of the world, of your country, your people, your society, and yourself, which I think is better for her soul, personally speaking, and better for the soul of society and everything. So to see Italy going so far away from that, and then it's kind of like the Old Testament, when the Israelites stopped believing in their one true God, then things started happening to them. You had wars, you had invasions, and now today in Europe, you have people are not even reproducing anymore in many ways. So then you need immigrants to come in. But then what do the immigrants do? And no fault of their own. I would probably do the same if I were them. But they change the culture, they change the civilization, and they become your civilization. It's not too late. Some countries, it's very dire, the situation. But we need to fight this. We need to preserve our civilization. We need to relearn what made us great. We need to become human again. We need to... Recently, I went to the shrine of Mother Cabrini, the first American saint in New York. She was from Italy, but came to New York and had a great devotion to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. And I bought a book of hers, her writings, and I read it. And I understood so well after about 200 pages her dedication, her devotion to the Sacred Heart. Because what is the Sacred Heart of Jesus? It's a devotion to the heart of God's love for mankind and for the universe and creation. And this is what we need to rediscover. The fact that God is love, and we are loved by God, but we're also called, she talks about, she sees the love of God for the world so big, and she wants to melt away in this love and she wants to expand her heart as big as possible to be worthy of this love, in a sense. And so that's what I think we need. That is the beginning of our rebirth as a civilization, learning authentic, true love again. And love is not the person you think you're obsessed with at the moment, or, we could see it probably most authentically in a human way, a mother's love for her child. It's an unconditional love no matter what, just anything could happen. We need that for the universe again. We need that for existence again. We need that for life itself, and it starts inside, loving ourselves. But what does that mean? That means loving truth also. You can't truly love if you don't love in truth. And so if you acknowledge things, like, to take extreme examples, like if you have a trans person who thinks they are transgender, that they were born in the wrong body, and this is with no hate in my heart at all, but what I'm saying is, like, if you love them as a person, you need to prioritize truth. You need to say, okay, I love you, but what you're saying is not true. Like, you were not born in the wrong body. You were born the way, like, you are a person with dignity, born in a body, here to fulfill a mission that was given to you, that it will take a lifetime to figure out. But no, like, if you're going through struggles, like, we can help you through that. But that doesn't mean that you're in the wrong body. So we need to prioritize truth, philosophical truth, but also nowadays biological truth, to be honest. We need to speak the truth. The sky is blue. You are a male. You are a female. So this is what we need again. So how did this process start for me, like this rediscovery of religion? Well, it started in university, I would say, realizing that kind of the socialists and the people who called themselves communists, something was wrong there. I was always raised pretty conservative, but only in university, the time of, the first election of Donald Trump, lots of social unrest in the US, I started coming back to realize, like, wait, actually, conservatism kind of does hold a society together in a better way than whatever this current thing is. So, I started going to church on my own again in university, then studied in Italy, in Venice, went to the Basilica of St. Mark, one of my favorite churches, every Sunday, went to the Vatican for a Mass. That really got me back. Then, about 5 years ago, I discovered the traditional Latin Mass, which is making a big comeback now, which was really just the Catholic Mass, lasting from about 1,000 years up until the 1960s and 70s, when that was changed to the vernacular. We won't go into all the details, maybe in a future video, but I would say that really dealt a blow to Western spirituality, especially Western mysticism. This idea that you can achieve a union with the divine, or you can at least work towards it, and definitely have revelations to yourself that would not have been made known, maybe if you just went to a Mass with guitar and English, but maybe it does take hearing the Ave Maria, hearing Pater Noster, and hearing Gregorian chant in Latin to bring us closer to the spirituality that we're rooted in of our ancestors. And then, so being in Italy, all that changed me, but then 3 years ago, starting to travel so much. And then it was my trip to Cyprus, Paphos, Cyprus, where St. Paul traveled. First of all, Cyprus is so close to the Middle East. Actually, I think it's technically the Middle East, even though it's Europe, European Union. Being there, you feel an air, you see the pillar where he was whipped for preaching the gospel in Cyprus. You go to his church. I went to a monastery in the hills nearby to see these frescoes of Jesus, where I saw Jesus in his true form, not this hippie who we were raised to believe, oh, peace and love, man, No, like Jesus was the one who went into the temple, turned over the tables, and said, "What are you guys doing? Like, get out of here. Like, this is a holy place." No, the Jesus who said, "Even sometimes I've come to bring the sword," not the sword of Muhammad killing innocent people and violence, but the sword of truth, of no, like, we're going to put this down. We're going to separate the wheat from the chaff. What you're doing is not right. It's not living in truth, because it's not ultimately contributing to the story of God's love for us. Like, maybe you think it's what you want, but actually you have another path to take. You have another story to tell one day after all this, at the end of your life. Like, did you follow truth and love and beauty? And I think that's what we have to do every day now. And that's really my trip to Cyprus, maybe almost 2 years ago. That really started me on my reversion fully to my faith, to where now every weekend, Latin Mass, I'm almost fully through reading the Old Testament. Of course, I've read the New Testament. I actually never had read it completely until like a year and a half ago. And then soon after it was Easter, and I was finished the New Testament. It was in this context that I fully came back to my faith, like truly reading all the words of the Gospel and the New Testament and seeing, wait, this is so true. Like, I've been searching through the philosophies of the ancients, through the medieval, like everything, and I've never really like found the answer. But really, Jesus is the Logos. Like, everything he expresses, and again, it's rooted ultimately, as Mother Cabrini would say, in God's love for mankind, for the universe, in charity. And that's why I think the Sacred Heart is so important. So that's what I think we all need right now. I'm not saying I have the answers. Following your path as a Christian, I think, means acknowledging you don't have the answers. But we can get closer and closer, and we can go towards that. And we can call out falsehood when we see it. Like when we see someone who says, no, like, I think it would be good if this 10-year-old child who is not in the right body takes testosterone. Like, I think we need to call that out. That is the devil. That is evil. The devil not in the form of some red man under the earth or something, but literally demons that we all fight every day, but that we shouldn't listen to, and we should follow light and truth. Just complete positivity, a spiritual transcendence that leads us towards what is our destiny, the mission to accomplish on earth, which is union with God, union with love, a true love for our neighbor, for ourselves, and for animals, even just like the environment. Let's make protecting the environment a conservative issue again. So that's what I want this new project to go towards. Kind of just a dialogue in truth, in love, in beauty, in faith, about history, politics, philosophy, religion. You know, we won't leave any stone unturned. We will talk about everything we have to, and we will, even talk to the big names of YouTube, the Joe Rogans, in Catholic YouTube, it would be like the Matt Frads and the people like that. But we will continue this mission, because what I want is for people to experience the fruits of this rediscovery that I have, that have improved my life, have enhanced my relationships with family. Just, I'm so grateful. And that's what I think this is all about, being grateful for what we have. Because we didn't have to be born. Our lives could have ended prematurely in the womb due to a broken woman's misguided actions, not realizing that child could actually complete her life rather than destroy it. we're here for a reason, obviously. Like, imagine, we're here in the universe, in a human body, for no reason. Not for any... Like, that is the subjectivism that I think we have to fight. I think we have to fight for objective reality, objective truth. Like, no, you are here for a reason. I'm here for a reason. We don't know exactly what that is. But if we believe that love is the path to a better world through Jesus Christ, through God, as our guides, as the Israelites were guided by the fire during the day that would bring them to their next stage of the journey, that's what we need to do. For other people too, but not in a way of pride, not in a way of I have the answers, but in a way of I'm looking for the answers and I'm going in that direction, and I'm going to call things out when I don't think they're going in that direction. And if I'm wrong, someone will call me out, and then I'll have to assess with humility if they have a point. That's one of the last things I'll say. We need to live in humility, not in pride. We need to be humble. We might not know everything. We don't know where we're going exactly. But we do need to, ultimately, it's about love and truth. Humility, no pride. And in that, I think we find a greater power. And because power doesn't come from you raising yourself up. It comes from you bringing yourself down to reality and realizing your limits. And then from that point, you can discover the power really of God and the Spirit in you. And that's what I think the true power comes from. So I'll finish there for today, but this is kind of just a reintroduction of myself to the global public square. And I don't know, let me know, you guys, what you think of this in the comments, and I'll see you next time. So have a great day, and God bless you all.